Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we'll take a look at two different companies reporting earnings tomorrow. The first that I'll focus in on is UPS. That reports before the market opens, and that's tomorrow, July 26th. And the second company we'll take a look at reports after the close, and that's going to be Microsoft. The exercise we use involves using the Smarter Earnings Indicator, which is a completely free indicator. You can download it from our website. I'll leave the URL in the description box. This indicator allows you to analyze the actual day of earnings. This is after we have earnings data, what tends to happen in whichever stock or market you're looking at. So the first most relevant one for tomorrow's actual trading activity will be UPS. It reports before the market opens, so we'll have the data in terms of the earnings result, which we can use to make some decisions using the Smarter Earnings Indicator. The second one is Microsoft, which reports after the close, so that data will be a bit more relevant for Wednesday's trading activity after we know the earnings result. Now, the reason first off why we're focusing in on earnings for this particular video, today the market was relatively unchanged. It feels like the calm before a storm. If you take a look at the S&P 500, plus 0.12% for the day, basically unchanged. If you take a look at the Dow, plus 0.28% for the day. Again, very similar idea, unchanged. The Qs were a little bit more to the downside, minus 0.57%, and the Russell a little bit more to the upside, 0.5%. However, in all four of these major markets, the moves were less than 1% overall. So to me, I think that's a sign that the volatility picks up after we have some of these companies reporting earnings tomorrow. That to me serves as the most ideal or logical catalyst that I think will inject volatility back into the markets. So let's start first with UPS, and I have the Smarter Earnings Indicator loaded on, and I can remove all of the other indicators just so we keep things nice and clean. So only the Smarter Earnings Indicator, which again, this is the same version that you can download for free from our website. Now coming back inside of our charts, if I click OK, inside of UPS, there's really two different sets of patterns that we analyze in this indicator. The first is the idea of a gap fill. This is where a stock gaps up and then it fills that gap, and we boil this down a little bit deeper on does it fill, say, an up gap on an earnings miss, and does it fill a down gap on an earnings beat. The second set of labels right here are gap and goes. That's exactly what the name implies. Once we gap up in one direction, we continue trending in the direction of that gap. So now if we come in and take a look at UPS, this is taking a look at a total of 20 earnings, and that's over 5 years. The pattern that we can see, which very clearly stands out, is the gap and goes here. But if we read this from left to right, just so you have an idea of how to read the indicator, we've had one gap up that was a fill on the upside, one gap down that was filled. So only 2 out of the previous 20 earnings have been gap fills. 15, however, have been gap and goes. And out of those 15, 10 of them were on the bullish side, 5 were on the bearish side. So in terms of the personality of UPS, after earnings, if it gaps in one direction, there's a greater tendency or likelihood for UPS to continue trending in the direction of the gap. If we have a bullish gap, the average bullish gap move is right around $3.98. That's after we gap the direction that we trend, about $3.98. On the bearish side, about $4.21. So this gives us a game plan in terms of ways we can play UPS if we have a gap tomorrow after it reports earnings. And we'll know that before the market opens once the earnings data is out. Now if we flip this to our second stock here, Microsoft. Microsoft, we're taking a look at a total of 19 earnings going back 5 years. Of those 19 earnings, 5 plus 2, 7 were gap fills. And on that gap fill, 0 were on misses, 0 were on beats. So we don't have any real clues or signs or hints there. Now on the flip side here, we have 9 gap and goes. So a little bit better of a pattern there. Of those 9, the most interesting thing here is all 9 of them were bullish gap and goes. And the average move there was $2.77. If we take a look at the charts here inside of Microsoft, we had broken outside of this upward trend line that we were chopping along in this overall downtrend. But if we did get, say, a bullish gap up, then that $2.77 could very well take us into the upper resistance of this same trend line, but this time tagging it from the downside. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how to use the Smarter Earnings Indicator to take a look at the companies reporting both before and after the market opens, or closes rather, in terms of understanding the personality of these stocks. and we focused on only stocks reporting tomorrow. On, say, Wednesday, if you come in, you'll find there's another slew of stocks where this volatility continues building up. One stock we've been looking at is Boeing. If we quickly conclude with Boeing here, inside of Boeing we see 6 plus 3, so 9 total gap fills versus 7 gap and goes. So both are more or less even, but the little bit more interesting data that we have here is Boeing tends to fill that gap on a miss. If we gap up, then it fills that gap to the downside if we have an earnings miss. Same thing on the downside. If we gap down, but we actually have an earnings beat, tends to fill that gap more often than not. So these are some ways that you can use the Smarter Earnings indicator to get an idea of the personality of any one of the stocks you might be looking to trade earnings for, and try and have a game plan ready to go before the company actually reports. Again, you can download this indicator for free from our website. I'll leave a link to not only the indicator, but another video that also walks through how to use the Smarter Earnings indicator to trade the actual day of earnings. Hope you found this video useful. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading this week, and we'll see you in the next update.